don't know. It bothers me because that's the way that we have to do politics in this country. It bothers me. And maybe it's not just her. We heard Andrea Ocasio-Cortez talking to the black people and swinging her head and doing all her stuff. We heard her doing that too, and it must work because she's in office. Excuse me. The only one that I heard really keep it real was Congressman Adriano Espinola. And he was at a hip-hop event, and they was like, oh, you remember this back in the day? He said, I wasn't here. Kept it 100. He didn't go along with it and say, oh, yeah, I was hip-hopping and bebopping back in the day. I'm in these streets. He didn't jump out and say that. And all I'm asking you now is to be real. Our country has a real threat upon us in lying to the American people and trying to patronize and pander the American people is not how we're going to make it over to the promised land. And I have a problem with that. And let me say this, and then I'll leave Vice President Harris alone. You talk about cooking these collard greens. Here's what you got wrong about your story. Collard greens are Southern black dish, black American dish. And you're talking about how you put the collard greens in the tub and you start collard greening and washing the collard greens and put a little salt. And you got a nerve to be giving away somebody's grandmother's recipe. Jamaicans eat callaloo. So what I'm saying is your context is wrong. If you're trying to say that your father is a Jamaican American and that this is the principles and the values that you grew up on, then you would not be having Southern collard greens at a Jamaican residence, ma'am. And I'm done. Said my piece. Now, last night we had a debate between J.D. Vance and Coach Walsh. People, did you see it? Tell me about it. How you feel? So now, JD is young. I'll admit, I was a little upset that they didn't pick Byron Donaldson over JD. I was a little upset about that because I thought a strong team would be Trump and Byron Donaldson, this white man and this black man. That was my dream, right? But they picked J.D. Vance, okay? And we're here. Now, J.D. then ran up on the vice president's plane. So I said, when he did that, I said, maybe J.D. is a little gangster. J.D. ran up on the tarmac outside when Vice President Harris' plane rolled up when she was going, I think, to the debate. He was outside early. Yo, I want to ask her some questions. I want to know why she's not talking about nothing. If I'll just come to her and I'll meet her at the end of the tarmac. So that's when I seen JD had a little gangster in him. I said, okay, let me give JD a chance. So I listened to him last night. JD was kind of smooth. He's got his smooth debonair. He come from the Ivy League school. He top notch. Okay, JD. He's a young senator in Ohio. Now, we know that they got baffed with the fact that they were talking about the Haitians and eating the cats. And somebody had put that story out there, knowing that they would pick it up and go with it. There's a large Haitian community out in Springfield, Ohio, and they were saying that they were getting reports that the people were eating the cats and the dogs and the pets, and it got up to President Trump. I don't know how, I don't know why, but he's trying to say that this is the migrant crisis that we have and we've inherited, right? So that's what his problem is with that, right? So JD Vance and Walz last night, it was scary. First, let me talk about Walz. Okay. I don't think that we can have this man as the vice president. I don't think he's ready. First of all, Minnesota. Okay, this is the place where George Floyd was killed and they had the uprising, and, you know, everybody's talking about that he never stopped the uprising. He never tried to stop it. He let it go on because Black people have gone through enough. That's his stance, right? Okay, so do we want a vice president that comes from a mid-state, a state that's not a main state in the country, New York, Florida, you know, main places, California, that have lots of different people? Now, what they did with the abortion piece in Minnesota is that they actually they went back to Roe v. Wade in Minnesota. They changed the laws because each state has an opportunity to make their own laws. And so their law is they restored the Roe v. Wade rights. And so what President Trump was talking about was that you can get an abortion in the 8th and sometimes 9th month. And what Governor Walz was saying was that that is reserved for the individual and the doctor if there's an emergency or somebody might die. And they brought up people who had died for not getting the care or traveling outside of another state to get the care that we need. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back here on Millennium News 24, we're going to talk about what we got up next. These next 30 days, what we got to do, what part we all play. Because we all play a part. Our vote counts. Register to vote now. I'm sure you could go on millenniumnews24.com and get a link to register to vote. Register to vote in your state now and make your vote count. Make your voice heard. We want to hear from you here at Millennium News 24. So chime in, you Facebook, Roku, Amazon, Fire, Apple TV, Sky Network, the Horizon Network. We're all over. All smart TVs. You can catch us, The New American Perspective, on Millennium News 24, your news for a better tomorrow. We're going to go to a break and we'll be right back.